Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Dowdy, and I'm back with another episode of My Conversation Corner, the place where we talk about the struggle to get to the success that you're looking for in life. You guys, make sure you guys follow me on all my social medias at Conversation Corner, IG, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe and like for more. Today, we're talking to a friend of mine's, kind of a mentor, kind of a person who's been doing this for a while, Chilla, and we're going to have a little conversation
Check,
about
check.
his career and his journey through the ups and downs of being in the industry of television and film, and we're going to really get into it. Let's get started. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Just living life, let life do what it's do, and then try to figure it out from there.
Yeah, I get that, man, for sure. Because, life is life, and you know what I mean?
Every day, man, every day. So I do want to talk about let's you give a little backstory on you and what you've done and how you got to where you are because everyone has a story, and I think everyone's story needs to be told, and someone can learn from it.
For sure. Yeah,
So
definitely, man.
let's start a little bit early. What in your early life, because you were in TV and film production and you do
Yeah.
production and editing. What in your early life got you to that level? Like, tell me a little bit about what you did to like have that inspiration to do that.
Yeah. So, a very, very long time. This was probably like middle school, and one of my cousins, he was in high school, and he had came home one day, and he showed me this video that he did, that he created at school, and it was simple. It was as simple as like his name. He wrote his name, and then he put the color of his name, and then he got it moving around on the screen, on the TV screen, and I was like, "Yo, what the heck? This is crazy. How did you know what I mean? Like, how did you do this? Like." So with that, I was just like, wait, this is actually possible for me to do. So then when I got to high school, I went to a Voltech high school. So we had different career paths that we could choose from, from like automotive to film production to nursing, just a slew of things. So I had three different classes or programs that I was interested in, which was the film, then
Right.
it was automotive, and I think the other one was business. Um, so yeah, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. I did the production stuff, and I was like, yo, this is really cool. I could see myself doing this. I could see myself being behind the camera and, making videos, creating stuff like that. And I was heavy in audio. Like my background is in audio, just like music production and stuff like that. But I wanted to blend the two. So even with going to school in the video production stuff, I was still able to do the music stuff with it. So I was like, oh, this is dope. I could blend the two. I could mix the two, and I could, I enjoy both of the mediums. So yeah. So then once I went to high school, I went through the program and graduated with the degree um, in that program. And then I was in a lot of stuff growing up. I was in a lot of different extracurricular activities.
Like what?
So one of them was called Delaware Futures. If you didn't know, I'm from Delaware.
Okay.
Yeah, so Delaware
Right up the
Futures.
street, right up the street from us in Maryland.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But so yeah, I went to Delaware Futures, which is a program that helps students in high school to get themselves together for college and the future, hence the name Delaware Futures. So went through there and graduated from there as well. And after I graduated from there, someone called me back. I went to school to Drexel, and then while I was at Drexel, I was going to school for business marketing
Right.
because I was like, okay, cool. I know the video stuff, I know the music stuff. Let me just get my business degree, college degree in business, so I can move forward, get my own business, and do video production. Uh, so during that time there, um, I was called back from one of the mentors from Delaware Futures and say, hey, they want to do an interview for one of the students that graduated from Delaware Futures. Would you want to, be on the TV and be a part of the interviews? So I said, sure, why not? I had the time. I didn't, wasn't really doing too much. So I was like, all right, cool. So we went there and and I did the interview and I just kicked it off with the host there, and she was like, "Yo, you're so cool, you're so dope. It's great to see a young person of your stature just like out here doing your thing." And I loved the interview, and you talked about being in production. How about you come and intern for us? And I said, "Oh, that'll be dope." So she kind of just pulled me under her wings and um, she gave me my first show. And I was like, what, 19, 18, 19, and I had my first TV show airing called Kids and Company. It was a show that she had started, but for I don't know, I guess resources or whatever, she kind of stopped doing it, and she told me about it, and I was like, oh, this would be dope to kind of like have my own show. And literally, I was doing everything. The only thing that she did was uh the interview stuff, so she was the host pretty much. So so I had to find the talent or find the places that we were going to interview. I had to edit it. I had to reach out to the people to book the show, the episodes and everything like that. So literally it was my show. She was like, "Look, I'm giving you the reins for everything. Like you take over."
Okay.
Yeah, so it was cool but scary at the same time because I had never done something like that, like having my own show to run the whole thing. So, like I said, I had to make contacts and call this person, that person. So it was a little stressful. But once I got used to it or got into it, it just became natural to me. And I was just making calls and just putting everything together. I think they still have some of the episodes up on YouTube.
Oh,
Um, yeah, so Kids and Company, if anyone ever wanted to check it out or anything like that.
right.
Um, there's a few, so I think the last time I looked it up, there was a few that aren't my episodes. They were older than my episodes, and those usually pop up first. So it's kind of weird. You might have to do a little bit of digging,
Okay.
but it's in there somewhere. And it's kids, the and sign, not the word spelled out, but the and sign company. But anyways, yeah, so I did that and that was fun, man. I was just like, yo, I could do this. Like this is dope. I could see myself doing this forever and just, having my own thing and just making it work. So then after that, um I probably worked there for about 2 years and everything was good. And then uh school just got really crazy and I ended up actually dropping out of Drexel. And I took a year off and just like, look, man, I'm just gonna focus on trying to figure out what's my next moves. And while I was doing that, I was still working at the TV show, or the TV station. And just like I said, I took a year off, and after that year, I was like, you know what? I think it's time for me to go back to school and just get my degree in something. And that something was video production. And at that time too, my cousin, my not my cousin that got the inspiration from, but my other cousin, he was going to school to at the Art Institute of Philadelphia. And he was telling me about it. He's like, yo, dope, this school is dope. You should probably check it out, whatever, whatever. And the funny thing is that they were trying to recruit me the first time I was going to college. They came to my school and they were trying to recruit me, but I had gotten favor from Drexel, so I was like, oh, this is better. And they had a more, prestigious outlook at Drexel. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna go to Drexel. I'm gonna, graduate from there, get that prestigiousness and all that stuff, and what I mean, keep it moving and
Right.
be this big major business person. You know what I mean? Just the dreams, you know?
And did you think that Drexel would have taken you further than where you were going because that's just that, because of the name or because of the skill that you would have gotten from Drexel?
Well, I think both, the name and the skill, because like I knew like two or three people who had graduated from Drexel, and they were just like, yeah, everything is good. They had decent jobs and everything like that. So I was like, okay, bet. And just, doing my research when I was looking to go to college, they were just they were there. They were one close enough to be at home,
Mhm.
but then far away that I could not be at home. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right. That was- yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So it was one of those things where I was just like, all right, cool. I got to meet the best of both worlds here in a sense. Um, so I was like, okay, bet I could do this. I'll do that. And yeah, and just my like I said, my research and my mentors, they were like, yeah, that's a good school. You should definitely take a look. And I had gotten scholarships, and the scholarships were for Drexel. So I was like, okay, cool. Now I don't have to stress about too much about the, how I'm gonna make it work and the money and all that stuff. Um, and yeah, Drexel was great, man. I met some really cool people there, and whatnot. But anyways, so uh after I took that year off, I said, okay, cool. I think I'm gonna take a look at the Art Institute and see what's going on there. So I did, and I enjoyed the Art Institute, or I liked what I saw. So I went to do a couple of interviews with them, see if it was a place that I wanted to be at and everything like that. So um ended up being a place that I thought, okay, cool. I could hone in on my skills as far as video production. This is just focus on that. I don't have to worry about other curriculum, like math or any of that stuff. But although they did they did make us go through like a couple of math courses. I had to do like algebra 2 and stuff like that.
yeah. That's always weird when when colleges do that to you. Because like I'm not going to be using any of this,
Right.
and I know how to count from and anything that I can do. We live in an age of technology where
Right.
I can figure it out without having to learn or go through a class that's going to take away from my time, away from the thing that I actually want to do.
Right, exactly. So I was just like, all right, whatever, man. I kind of expected it, because it's like, okay, you got to, these are the things that you got to kind of go through the motions. So that was kind of a little drag because I'm like, yeah, I'm just here just trying to get my video degree and be out of here. I'm not because at that time I was probably I was like 22. So I was already like mature at that point. I was just like, okay, cool. I'm just here to get my schooling and be gone and get my career going.
Right.
Um,
So, quick question: when you were going through Drexel, was it specifically just like a blanketed curriculum of TV productions, or was it like editing? And because that's what I mean, that's kind of the field that you went into. 'Cause I want to know where like what pushed you there instead of
yeah. Well, so at Drexel, it was more so business stuff. I was going to school for business marketing, actually, because like I said earlier, I said, well, I have the video stuff down pat because I went to school for 4 years doing that.
right,
And when I graduated, I was working at a TV station. So I'm like, I have all this experience. I don't need to go to school to get my degree in that. I
right,
know this.
right,
So why don't I get a degree in something else that could push me further into owning my own business. So
right.
that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for marketing business marketing. Um, but like I said, everything just like kind of flipped on its head once I stopped going to school for that 1 year and I just like had to recalibrate and refocus and said, okay, I need to get a degree. And to to kind of sidetrack a little bit, for those who are listening to this, and you've probably heard this before, you don't need a degree to get to where you want to go. All
Yeah.
right.
And I learned you learn that too late sometimes.
Yes, exactly. And for me, I think I kind of learned it a little bit too late, but I enjoyed the process because I've met a bunch of cool and dope people that I'm still in contact with now. So I think as far as going to college, I think the person just needs to know what exactly they're going to college for. For me, I was like, okay, I just want to get my degree in this so I could say, all right, I am skilled and I know what I'm talking about in this field. Because sometimes in video production, it's cool to have your degree, but a lot of it is knowing people. It's
Yeah.
about who you know.
Yep. Especially if you
So
still be working.
yeah, exactly. So, but for me at that time, I was just, I think I had felt the pressure from my family of like, oh, you got to go to school. And like, I didn't graduate when I dropped out of to college and, I felt like I was letting my people down.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's probably something that I should have taken into consideration and just be like, okay, I don't think I need to, but again, like I said, I have no regrets in going to school. I had a great time. So going to AI, it was dope, man. I learned a lot, um, and I realized how inexperienced I was, even though I had my own TV show at a TV station. Um, and then at that time too, technology had just changed like drastically. The DSLRs were like the big thing, and I was used to using like the Panasonic big cameras, having to lug it on your shoulders, like
yeah.
the real television style shooting. Like, so once I got into AI and I realized, dang, these people are shooting on DSLR, these small little cameras, like it kind of changed my perspective on things and just like looking to the future and seeing what can happen in the future and just technology. So
Yeah, yeah,
and I've always been into technology as well. So it was kind of cool to see that shift and be like, oh dang, I don't need this big behind camera or whatever. So yeah, so went to school AI and graduated. Um, and when I graduated, I tried to reach back out to the TV station, and the people that were there, that hired me, he wasn't there anymore, and the lady that I built my connection with, she wasn't there anymore. So I was like, dang, I can't get back in here. Um, there were like one or two people there, but I don't know. I felt like it would have been like a step back for me.
yeah, yeah. Because you learned
Um,
so much in that time with that. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So then I was just like, okay, cool. I think I just need to refocus. And then at that time too, I was working with another up and coming TV network. So like how now they have Zeus and all that stuff and all those other networks. So this one company called 360 Network or Network 360, something like that.
perfect.
Um, they they were now like on the move with that online television type situation where they were like you can have your own TV channel pretty much and then if you're on our network you have your own programmed um channel pretty much and you could show and play whatever you want on that channel 24/7.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, this is dope. This is super innovative. Like this would be, cool for like content creation and stuff like that. Because at that time too, Vine was pretty big.
Yeah,
Instagram was now coming up.
I'm
So
in line.
yeah. And like and Facebook was actually popping. Like Facebook was the thing. So seeing that, I was like, oh, these people are kind of innovative right now. So I connected with them, worked with them for a few. I think it was like maybe 2 years as well, or at least a year, because when I graduated, this was all while I was going to school. And then when I graduated from school, I was like, I need, I had met my girlfriend. That's what it was. I had met my girlfriend, and I was, who's my wife right now. Now, so
Right now, hold up. Right
yeah, yeah,
now,
yeah,
don't
right now.
want to get her. You don't want to get in trouble.
Nah, yeah. So we started out as boyfriend girlfriend, and then got married. But so she was already living here in California. So I came to visit. She's like, hey, you just graduated, whatever. You should come out here, check it out, see if it's a place you want to come. I know you're into video production stuff. It's a big market out here. So I said, okay, cool, that's dope. I'll come out, check it out, and everything like that. Came out here, and I lost my job. I was working in pharmacy, um, a pharmacy warehouse, and I lost my job the while I was out here in California, and she overheard, well, not overheard, but I had the phone on speaker. And they were like, "Hey, just wanted to let you know that your what was it called? My contract was up and the company is not gonna keep you on." And this was all while it was on speakerphone. So I'm like, okay, all right, I'll talk to you later then. So Yeah,
Yeah,
it
and
was.
it sounds like, I mean, it sounds like she was very supportive of that situation, and you'll talk about it in a moment. But like,
Yeah,
even when it comes to picking somebody, you've got to pick somebody who's one going to push you a little bit, two is going to
yeah,
allow you to grow in that area where you're transitioning from one place to another. Because she definitely gave you a place to land when you
yeah.
play. Because I had the same thing. Like, you got to have an opportunity to land somewhere and kind of get your ducks in a row.
Right. Yeah. So it was crazy because when I hung up the phone, she was just like, "Well, you wanted to come out here in California anyways. Well, now you don't have any ties." And I was just like, I looked at her like, are you sure? Because I've never had any person, say that to me or even, you know what I mean? Like just extend the invitation like that. And I was just like, okay, cool. And at that point, at that time, we weren't even boyfriend and girlfriend. We were just kicking it.
He saw
Like I just
he had plans for you, brother.
yeah, we were just kicking it, and I was just like, okay, cool, like that's fine. And then after that, I was just like, you know what? She's dope. I'm gonna ask her to be my girlfriend. But anyways,
Yeah.
so then I came out here in January 2016, um, and just never left really. And one of her really good friends, husband worked in the television uh side of the industry. And when I came out here, he was, I was talking to him. I was like, yeah, man, I kind of want to get into the industry, blase, blase. And he's like, okay, dope. You know what? I have a TV show that's about to start up. If you want, I could put in a good word for you. But you probably have to do some PA job and, just
The grind.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, yo, it don't matter, man. Like I just want to get my foot in, like, and it wasn't even in what I wanted to do was more so production work, but the opportunity was in post production. And I was just like, I don't know, but I don't got nothing else, so I'm just gonna take it. So I did, and the show is called Sweet Vicious on MTV. They only had one season. It was a show that was just really ahead of its time. If you guys that are listening have an opportunity to check it out, I think you should. It's a really, I thought it was a really dope show, and it could have had more, but it was so far ahead of its time that I think people were just too cautious of it, and they weren't sure if it could last the longevity. But I think it could have at least 3 episodes or 3 seasons. But anyways, so he pulled me on, and I got into the post production side, and I was like, this is kind of cool. I don't really like editing, but I don't mind it because like I saw like you could have a lot of power in the sense of how the show comes alive and it's what I mean? Like it's cool to be on production and then you see the actors and all that stuff and the camera the movement, but in the post-production it's like you kind of have a lot of freedom in the sense of how you want it to go. And obviously you have to follow the script and follow, the showrunners and what their vision is, but you have the opportunity to kind of shift that for them in case, they might see it one way, but then if you place it together in another way, they might be like, oh, this is kind of dope.
Yep.
So I got to see that, and they even let me do some of the mock-ups for the show. So all like the graphics and whatever would be shown on the cell phones and stuff like that. They allowed me to do that. So that was kind of cool to have that mark in the show. Even though it's like super small because no one really noticed it, but it's just like I know that it's there and I know that I did it, you know what I mean? So that was kind of dope. I was like, okay, cool. I could kind of see myself. I was still kind of hesitant about the editing stuff, but I was like, all right, cool, man. It is what it is. So after that, after the show ended, um, I just started doing a lot of freelance work. I just started doing a lot of word of mouth, and I ended up meeting a couple of people, and they were like, "Hey, yeah, I have a film that I'm working on. Um, I'm looking for a production person. Would you be willing to?" And at that time, I was just trying to take any gig. I was like, "Sure, yeah, I'll do it."
Dollars. That's the biggest thing about coming to LA. You need this money.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, cool, man. it's cool. You know, it seemed like a lot, but I was a one man band, so it's just like, and a lot of the people I was working with didn't really have money like that, so it was kind of just off the love really that I was doing the work for. And so it was interesting. It was cool because I met a lot of cool people, and some of the people that I've met like kind of introduced me to other people that I'm working with now, present time. And I haven't even worked with the people that introduced us in a couple of years. So it's kind you know, it kind of just snowballed that way. But anyways, so I started working with these local producers and directors to help make their shows. And I would literally, like I said, do everything. I was the video guy, I was the audio guy, I was the editor. So
And I mean, yeah,
um
always.
yeah, yeah. So n- then when I started to like get into more, because some of the people wanted me to do their like short films. So I was like, okay, look, I could do the video, but you probably got to get an audio guy and I'll do the editing and stuff like that. So that's how that kind of snowballed. And then 2020 happened.
Yeah.
And
COVID, I mean, COVID ravaged everything, in my opinion. Like, even when I was working for the TV show Future Man on Hulu.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
The third season, I actually that was actually my first job in post production as a post production PA, and
Dope.
I'm just I'm doing things and working with them, and I'm actually sitting with some of the assistant editors just to watch and see what they got going on, is how
Yeah,
and I've actually got I actually he actually let me work on a few of this one or two of the scenes that were in the
nice.
final cut of the show, and I'm like, I didn't get no credit
Nice.
for it, but I know I did it, and
Right,
that was,
exactly.
it was like, oh my goodness, I'm on my way,
Yeah. No, that's dope. Yeah. Yeah, like I had my single moment, you know, of just having my clip in there. I was like, I know it's there. No one else knows, but I know. So yeah, so then 2020 happened and a lot of people said it was bad for them, but 2020 was actually like really good for me because a lot of people, even from back east, they were just hitting me up like, "Hey man, are you still editing? Are you still doing this?" And I was like, not really, but you know, it was decent money. So I'm like, "Hey, I could work, get some money." You know what I mean? Like the editing isn't too bad. All right, I'll do it. So I ended up just doing it, and I was working with different churches. They were sending me their clips, trying to put together their sermons because, you know, everything was online now. So they were trying to put together, have their sermons put together and so they could post it. And then, so I was just getting a lot of editing gigs. And I was like, this is interesting. Maybe I can do this. And then you know, I'm working from home and, you know, I don't have to go nowhere. I could just chill. So I was like, oh, this is kind of a
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah, that's what what pulled me into it as well. Like, oh, I don't have to, because I think one of the things that pulled me into it myself when it comes to post production and editing, I was working on a show. It was an on I can never say the word anthology series where it's like scary movies, almost like Black Mirror, or
Okay.
but it was like different episodes for every different episodes for every episode, different stories for every episode.
Stories, yeah, yeah.
And they were working on a Coyote episode, and they were working on the same set. And I say this because I enjoyed it. I watched Marvel, and there's one scene at the end, in the middle, where Iron Man goes back to the place where they were keeping him hostage
Yeah.
on that lot, and he was in there fighting people and throwing people around and shooting.
Yeah.
We were on that lot, but it was raining.
Dope.
Well, raining. It rained for 3 days straight, and I'm 6'8", so I'm carrying. They want me to move things. I'm a PA. They want me to move these 15-person tents on my shoulder. I'm just carrying these 50 yards back and forth in the mud. I was like, this is the last day I'll be on set, and it was.
That's funny. Dang, that's crazy though.
But
Sheesh.
it was. I mean, it was an enjoyable experience. But I just realized once I'm done with this, I need to really figure out what I want to do, because being on
Yeah.
set, yes, it's fun. It's just interesting. You meet new people. I've met
Right.
many celebrities from the Broadway
Right.
shows to the who else? Who did I think I met? Um Uncle Mr. Ogilvy from the Parkers. I met him on
Oh
set.
yeah, okay.
I've met quite a few people, but I just realized,
Yeah.
hey, on set is just too many hours
Yeah.
for physical labor that I'm exhausted. My body is
Yeah.
exhausted.
For sure. Yeah, but that's the for me, like that was the beauty of it because I wasn't just sitting or that's the beauty of why I like production side because I'm not just sitting here, just in front of a computer or just in one place. I'm doing different things because I'm a person where like I have to do multiple things. Like once I'm sitting and I'm stagnant or whatever and I'm just doing one thing, my mind goes bored and um and it's just like that's why I like production because like one by the time I'm finished one thing, all right, it's something else that I got to do, or you know what I mean. But I do understand the PA labor stuff because I have been on a couple of shows where I'm just like, dang, I'm moving all this stuff and like I'm doing this, or not a show, but a movie where I'm just like, even though it was the lighting section area of the production it was still like just having to move stuff left and right, and I'm just like, I don't know about this. But I'm like, I want to be more on the camera side of things, where I'm
Right,
just, the camera guy or whatever, moving the camera. So that there's not too much labor in there. And then at that point too, if you're at that level, then you're just like, you have your AC or whatever helping you out.
right, right.
But anyways, yeah. So then to get us back on track, so then yeah, 2020 happened, and I was just getting a bunch of editing gigs, and I was like, okay, I could kind of see myself doing this. I could kind of space out my time frames. I can do whatever I want. I can take my breaks whenever I want. I don't have to be. It's not laborious like we were just talking about. And I was like, okay, cool. I could do this. So after 2020, again, just word of mouth, people were just like shooting me texts or calling me like, hey, I have this product come or this project coming up or that project coming up. And then I met a couple of people that like I said, I'm still working with now. And somehow, some way, I fell into the documentary side of things. Because I was more so in like narrative, doing a lot of narrative editing and stuff like that. And I fell into this documentary space where this guy, well, two ways I got into the documentary space. So, Leon. So
Yeah.
this guy named Leon, he I was working on another project with someone else, and he was the he helped me out on the post-production side of doing some rotoscoping work. He doesn't like people to know about that, but
That man is talented. I'm going to be talking to him as well because that man got talent.
yeah, he's dope.
I gotta give him an opportunity to tell the things he got going on.
Yeah, he's dope, man. And just like super smart. But anyway, so he was like, "Hey, man, I have an opportunity for you. I don't know if it's something you might want to work in and do, but like, there's this guy that's looking for an editor, and he's in a space now. He just wants to get it done. He doesn't know when he's gonna get to find another editor. And I know you're good at what you do, but he just wants to get it done. And I thought about you, so I was like, okay, bet. Let me and him we can meet and figure it out. And it was actually one of the projects you were working on,
Yep. I started the project.
TITLC.
Yep.
Yeah.
I started the project, and it was that man that we did that the entire from the beginning of 2020 when things started falling apart with the pandemic until about 2022 when I was starting to transition into a job.
Mm.
But
Yeah, so he was like, yeah, man, my editor, the last editor I had, he kind of had to disappear for a bit. And that's like, yeah, man, I want to finish this project. It's been looming over me for the past couple of years. So I was like, okay, cool. I was like, let me see the script and see what's going on. And when I tell you the script was I think when he first handed me the script, it was 20 minutes, like
yes,
20
yes, it
pages or
was.
something like
Yes,
that.
it was.
And it just like grew to like a whole film
Mhm.
thing. And I was just like, yo, this is crazy. And I wasn't expecting it to be, that much work because when we first started, it was, a certain amount of time. And I was just like, okay, cool, I could do this 30 minutes. I've done shorts before, like whatever. But it grew and it was a an amazing and interesting process. But anyway, so I fell into, and his project was a documentary. So I fell into this documentary world. And at that time, I was also working on another movie, um, a narrative. And this one of the actors or actresses, sh her mother was on came to the production site every not every time, but a lot of the times. And me and her mother just started talking, and her mom was like, "Yo, man, this is dope. I like what you're doing, you know." And I'm just giving her, we're just chatting. I'm giving her like tips and tricks and whatnot, and like what I'm, how I envision the scenes and whatnot. And then she starts asking me, what camera are you using? And, just some of these technical stuff. And I was like, I'm using this, that, or whatever. And she's like, okay, cool. I'm thinking of buying some, and I would like to pick your brain about, what kind of cameras I should get. And I was like, okay, cool. What are you working on, or what are you gonna work on? And she's like, yeah, I want to work on this documentary for authors, and just she reads a lot of books, and she knows a lot of authors, so she wanted to bring light to these authors.
Mhm.
And she wanted to, because some of the authors, they're like literally just writing books off of love. They're not really getting paid like that. And she just wanted to bring more light, and more light to not just authors but Black authors.
All right.
And she just wanted to bring more light to their situation. So I was like, oh, that's kind of dope. Cool. And she's like, yeah, can I get your number in case I have any other questions or whatever? And I was like, yeah. So we exchanged the numbers. I didn't think it was gonna go anywhere. I was just like, okay, cool, whatever. So then we finish up the narrative project, and I'm getting ready to start the documentary project. And she calls me. She's like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm this person's mom." And I was like, "Yeah, I remember you." She's like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna start gearing up to shoot this project, and I was wondering if you wanted to be a part of it." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like, what do you need me to do?" And she's like, "Yeah, I bought the cameras that you told me and the stuff that you told me to gear. Um, and I want to know if you could do like the shooting and the editing for me." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I could do that." And the that was like a blessing in disguise, man, because at that time I wasn't really doing anything like production wise. And again, like I said, I wanted to be more production stuff. Um, so then we connect, and we begin working on this project, and we're still working on it now. We have a couple of episodes out on YouTube. It's called uh sheesh, why can't I think of it? Oh, Girlfriends Unfiltered.
Okay.
Girlfriends Unfiltered interviews.
Is that on YouTube or where is it?
That's on YouTube. Yeah, that's on YouTube. Or if they want to follow on Instagram, it's Girlfriends Unfiltered as well. And the host's name is Ayoka, and she's super dope. And just working with these authors. So we traveled throughout the US just interviewing authors, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is dope. This is dope. Like, because again, that's what I wanted to do, production stuff, and just be out there. So after we did all this shooting and everything like that, we just it's in post-production time. So now I've just been editing like crazy, and just trying to get all the episodes together. And we're working on the full film, the because we have different episodes, but then we have a major film that's going to be like an hour or so, just
Right.
with all the little pieces and nuggets, and just following the timeline of this one um person that we're interviewing. And it's just super dope, and just to hear these people's stories, and see how they come up with these stories and their backgrounds. And just you kind of build those connections with them. And it's just been dope. And yeah, that's pretty much my journey. I know it's a lot, and bouncing back with production and editing, but like, yeah, I just kind of fell into that whole editing thing. It wasn't something that I wanted to do, but like I said, 2020 happened, and it was just like, okay, cool. Everyone was just hitting me up left and right, just editing, editing. I'm like, okay, cool. I could do the editing. I could stay at home and just edit. So yeah.
Now you might have mentioned it. Now, what are one of the projects that you've worked on in LA that was just like the highlight and just like this thing that you enjoy working on the most?
Um, she's just like two of them really. the MTV one was pretty dope because I felt like that was my first. I was like, man, this is about to be my big break, you know. I'm about to be out here, just go in and,
Right.
it didn't work out that way. But it was super dope because it was my first like big major production that I worked on. So that was kind of dope. And then the other project was another show called or movie called Winter in LA. That was pretty dope because the cinematographer that I worked with, I had met him um, at an event, an ASC event,
Mhm.
which is the American Society of Cinematography. And I met him there and we just connected and he's like, hey, actually, I have a project coming up. Do you want to just be a part of it and just kind of wingman me or whatever? And I was like, yeah, dope. And he pulled me on, but I wasn't the camera guy or worked close to him as he said it I would have. But it was cool because what he told me, and this is so true, what he told me was before you could even be behind the camera, you got to learn lighting. And he was like, he had before we even started shooting, he was like, what's your lighting technique skills and stuff like that. And we went to a studio and I was just showing him and he was like, I know you want to be on camera, but I think I'm gonna have you be on with the lighting crew, the G&E. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. At that point, I was just like, I'm just trying to be on the team, bro.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I have no quarrels with you. Like, just pull me on and I'm there.
Right.
Yeah. So I think those were probably my two. No, and then the Girlfriend's Unfiltered one because I have so much like free reign with it.
Right.
Um, and I just love Ayoka. She's just dope. And she, just traveling around the country and shooting and I'm just doing everything that I wanted to do. I wish, we had a bigger budget,
Mhm.
so she can like actually do
What she wants to do.
fully do, yeah, fully go into it. And, it's taken us some time because, one, she needs to find funding to one, pay me, but also, it's not cheap flying around the country. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she paid for everything, like all my expenses and everything. So I was just like, yo, this is dope, and paid me too. So I was like, yeah, this is cool. But for me, I'm like, I want her to win. You know what I mean? Because like it's a passion project, but I could see like how much she really enjoys it and wants to shed light on something that's not even like benefiting her. It's literally benefiting other people.
And that's one thing I've noticed. Even the people that I've had around me, these people who are around, and like people like you and Kokai, they're people who want to see you win, and they're trying to help
Yeah.
push you and get you to the next level.
Yeah.
Another question: when it comes to the industry now, because of the strikes and how things operate with the writer strike and the actor strike, how did that affect you?
Um, Again, a lot of these things didn't really affect me in the sense of like right then and there because I've been doing all this stuff on my own,
Right.
freelancing. So I was never a part of any union or anything like that. This is a lot of just freelance stuff. So when the strikes were happening, people were reaching out to me like, "Hey, I got this project. It's not unionized or anything like that, but we want to get it done. So would you be willing to be a part of it or, edit it or whatever the case is?" And I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. So like the strikes and stuff didn't really affect me, but I do wish that and this is another thing for me where it's like I wish I had gotten my
Yeah.
union C because even with the strike, it was, I could still, because there were a lot of people that I know were still working even during the strike. But just to have that balance of like being able to have my own schedule, but then if, if the freelance stuff is slow, then I could get pulled onto a show, and vice versa. If the show is slow, then I could get pulled onto freelance stuff. Um, and it's been a couple of years where I'm like, oh, I need to just do it and get my union card and blase blase. But from talking to other people, they always like scare me away because they're like, yeah, it's kind of like a catch 22 where it's like if you don't have the hours, then you can't get in. But if you do have the hours, you have to have union hours, but you can't get union hours if you don't get to work on a union show. So it's like, bro, I can't win. And
Yeah.
then, but a lot of people are saying that like, hey, you can get in, you just got to know who to talk to. So I've been reaching out to different people and trying to see how I could do it. And then I even looked into the Editors Guild as well.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah, and they were a little bit easier than the cinematography guild because I think they just you just need like the hours or something like that, and it doesn't. I don't think it matters if you're on union or not, but just need to have the hours. But I haven't fully looked into it. Again, it's just like one of those things. I'm like, it's a catch-22. Like, why am I even trying? And then if I don't know anyone to, to get on these union shows, then I can't get the union hours. So, yeah.
Yeah. So even when it comes to industry changing, because the industry's drastically changed on
Yeah, for
how
sure.
jobs, what would you tell someone who is looking to get into industry now, how the things are now? Because you're not necessarily inside, but just want to get started in that on that path of
Yeah.
film, TV productions, any of that. Like, what would you tell these people?
Yeah, I think now just the industry as a whole is just flipped upside down because you don't have to you don't have to work for any of these networks. A lot of people now are making their fame to claim just working on their own films, working on their own shows, doing their own
Podcast.
projects. Yeah, doing their own projects. And I think that's the way to go because what you want to do is you want to create something that the big wigs are going to want to take. You know what I mean?
Right.
And once you start creating something like that, then they see the value in it. Now you have the upper hand, you have the leverage. So I don't think now, unless you want to and you wanted to go the traditional route, then I think now it's just a point of just creating your own lane and creating your own content because right now content is king.
Mhm.
And if you don't have content, then you're not doing anything. But if you have content and good content, you could blow up your weight in like 2 days, you know what I mean? And it's just it's that's just it. And for me, I'm more so I work on the back end of things. Um, because that's just what I love. I like doing the video production. I like doing, so for me, I like working with people who have the ideas and they know what they want to do. And then I just come in and just help guide them or gear them or create with them what their idea is. My company's motto was always your vision coming to life because it's not my vision, it's your vision. And whatever you envision, I'm just here to help you
Facilitate.
um manifest what your vision is, you know?
Yeah, and I think I'm almost tempted to say that's an editor's perspective on it because it's like
Yeah,
you've got to kind of put together or come up with an idea that you want to work on, and then from there, I'm able to guide you to the next level and
right.
get you the right people in front of you to help you with the sound and the lighting and all those things that come along with it. And from your perspective, you're an editor, so like you can also step in and say, okay, this is where I can help you, like
Yeah.
personally. So like that's just an editor's perspective, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and that it's funny you said that because the my client Ayoka, she just uh adores me and praises me like on the editing and stuff like that. And for me, I don't think I'm the best editor at all. Like my editing skills, I think it's just super basic because that's kind of what I grew up in. I just grew up in like a lot of narrative stuff and a lot of like documentary stuff. So I don't do a whole bunch of visual effects and this flying and that all over the place or whatever. In mine, it's just cookie cutter. But I do have the ideas. So when my clients give me an idea, I'm like, okay, cool. This is kind of basic. So how can I spruce it up? You know what I mean? And that's just where I might add a little extra zing or a little extra transition that they might think, oh, that's kind of dope. But for me, it's just like it's simple.
yeah,
But
very simple.
yeah, but they're like, oh, this is dope. But I think sometimes the simplicity of things just work.
Hmm.
Especially in, like I said, in the field that I'm in, I'm doing a lot of narrative work. I'm doing a lot of documentary work. So a lot of those things don't need a bunch of special effects or any of that stuff. Unless, obviously if I'm working on like someone getting shot or whatever the case is. But which I did have to do that. I had to do some special effects with the gunshots and stuff like that. That was kind of cool. I had like a whole bunch of effects and stuff that I've never used. I just bought them years ago, and I was just like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna have it just in case. I think at that time I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos, and people were doing their videos, and they were doing like different like war movies and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Let me just download some stuff just to have. And then I finally ended up using it for the one movie, and I was like, oh, this is dope. This is cool.
Yeah,
But
YouTube University, man. That's gotten me through a lot of the things that I'm trying to get through sometimes. Just like
yeah,
transitions and edits, and then I've actually talked to one or two people where I'm showing them the things that I've done, and their brain is, oh, we've got to do this, and it's like, no, there are things that are seem basic or seem that you don't understand that are basic, but they are like you have to be
yeah,
skilled in it a little bit, like
yeah, for
the
sure.
audio with the video and making sure the sound that you're getting from is not from the camera, it's coming from the mics. So sometimes, I talked to one guy. He was a radio guy. He was looking at my stuff. He was like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "I told you what you did. I'm going to give you the rundown of what I did, but to you it looks basic. But this is not easy. This is not easy. This is not.
Yeah.
It's basic, but it's not easy."
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I was literally just having a conversation like that with my cousin. He was like, especially in like yeah, in editing, people just think, oh, you just put it in the editor and you just slide this or slide that. It's like, no, bro, like if you want to see this graphic flip or do whatever it's doing, like sometimes you have to go in there and meticulously move the counter, the clock or
Yep.
whatever, or like time it and all this other stuff. Like people don't see that. So what's dope is that my client Ayoka, she's for me, like I've become so good at editing that I'm just like, yo, just send me the script and I'll just knock it out. But she wants to sit down next to me, and I've never had a client like that that just wants to sit with you and edit. Um, I used to find it very nerve-wracking because I'm like, oh, what if I mess up? And I can't really have the space to think about what I want to do. But she gives me the space to like, I'm like, she might see something and then she's like, oh, can you do this or do that or move this or whatever? And then I'll do it. And I do it with such precision that she's like, wait, you just did that? I was like, yeah, I just, but I've gotten so comfortable with my software and knowing how it works. And that's another thing. If you want to get into editing, is just knowing your software. It doesn't matter what software you're using. You could be using Adobe, you could be using DaVinci, you could be using iMovie. It's just knowing your software. And I've gotten comfortable now because I used to be an Adobe fanboy, but like I switched over to DaVinci and I'm just like, bruh, DaVinci is the sh.
Yes, man, and that's what I've been using to make my Google podcast. I This is my first few podcast episodes, all DaVinci, and that's the first time I've actually used it to put out produce anything. And
Hmm.
it's not that hard to understand, not that hard to learn.
Yeah,
There's anything that I need to brush up on, hop on YouTube for a couple minutes, and then
right.
find a specific thing, or find a thing and then kind of mimic it with in another way. I mean, I like DaVinci, so this is gonna be good.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I've been using DaVinci now for what, the past year and a half, and I've never turned back. I'm just like, bro, and it's free if you wanted to just like
Yeah,
start out, because that's how I started out. I just started with the free version, but I bought a Black Magic camera, so now I have the studio version. So it's just like I'm like, bro, this is super easy. And like you said, the transition over from Adobe was not hard at all. And then all of my quick keys and stuff like that, I literally imported them into DaVinci, and the quick keys I could use
yeah,
with
we'll talk about that.
writing DaVinci.
We'll talk about the quick.
The quick keys like just switched over, and I was just like, oh, okay, cool. So like my editing style didn't change. It was just, a little things that might have been moved around, but like once I figured out where they were, it was just like easy. I could just boom, boom. So like I said, like sitting with my client, she's just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, dang, you just did that, and I'm like. She'll see something and she's like, oh, I don't really like that. It's like, don't worry about it. I got you. I'm gonna fix it in a second, but let's keep moving. And while we're doing that, I'm like cleaning it up, fixing it right there, and just like doing everything in real time. So that was kind of like a skill that I had to kind of pick up because, like I said, I was not used to my clients sitting with me while I'm editing, um, which I know in definitely in in the industry itself, like they do have that because when I was working on Sweet Fishes, they would have the showrunners come in on the episodes and then they'll see what the editors put together and then they would sit with the editors and have them change stuff around as they're editing. So I've seen that, but for me, I was always just like, hey, just send me what you need me to edit, give me the script, and I'll just edit it together, and then I send it back to you. If there's some changes that you need to make, just let me know what the changes are. I'll make those changes and we go about it that way. Um, so it was just kind of interesting to see that way with my client Ayoka just sitting next to me. But yeah, man, it's just knowing your program and once you get your hotkeys and stuff like that, it makes everything so much easier.
All
So
right.
much easier.
So one last thing. Give me one last takeaway for those who are looking to just be a part of the life. And just in general, whatever their field is, just give me something that you would tell these people.
Um, well, before I answer that, let me just go back real quick, because I think I kind of skipped over the question of what do they need to do when they first start,
Mhm.
or how to get into the industry. I think like I said before, the major thing is just making your own content, but also just having a good group of people to work with. Because for me, like again, I was always a one-man band. And I knew that having, a quality group of people around you would help better make you better and just make your production everything just better, but I just never had a crew of people to where I was just like, oh yeah, I want to work with you or whatever. Like my only person that I would always work with was my cousin, but he lived back east, or like he then moved to Mexico, so like he was living out there, so I would always just bounce ideas off of him and just talk to him about production stuff. But recently, I've been working with this talented young lady named Kylie, and she's just. If you guys want to check her out, you can check her out on Instagram at Let Me Capture You. That's her Instagram, Let Me Capture You. Um, or her main page, I think is like Kylie_Martinez or something like that. But Let Me Capture You, and then you could go to her other page. But she is super dope, man. She's super dope. And after like working with her or connecting with her, um, I realized like, dang, this is dope, man. I definitely needed someone like close by that I could just call up and be like, yo, what are you doing? Like, I have this project, or she'll call me and be like, hey, I have this project. Do you want to help out? And we just work with each other that way. And that's another major thing is just having like a group of people or just one or two other people that you're working with to kind of just like pull you along, because some days you might not feel like doing it, but they're just like, let's shoot this or let's do that. And then you're like, all right, cool, we'll do it, because that it's going to be great, but then you trust these people and you want to work with them. So that's kind of dope. Um and just talking to people, also like just talking to people and just letting them know what you do. Because a lot of people that I've started working with was just word of mouth. I've worked on one project and then I ended up talking to this other person, or while they were on set, I'm talking to them and they're like, oh yeah, I have this other project coming up, or can I get your contact? And I have a project coming up, I could hit you up or whatever. So a lot of that stuff is just like word of mouth and just like, yeah, just making your own content, man. I think that's the way to go. Um, so the last thing, as far as like life stuff, um, I wish I was some type of philosopher to give you like a huge gem that's just like mind blowing, but I don't have one of those. I think that just in life you just have to be persistent.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's persistent and consistent. Because there's many times like I've wanted to quit, and just be like, oh, I'm not gonna pursue this anymore, or I don't see it flourishing, or I don't see, you know, the contacts that I'm getting, they're not reaching back out, or it just becomes monotonous in a sense of like you're making the calls, you're reaching out to the people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I have something coming up. I'll let you know," and then it just falls through. And there's a lot of that. You're gonna get those no matter what industry you're in. Um, and I think just being persistent in what you want and consistent, I think that's gonna get you to where you want to be. Even like for me, like. I used to do music a lot back in the day, and I stopped doing it, and I just made my first album in like over 10 years. And it's out right now if you guys want to
My
take
next,
listen to it.
my next question was about to be about the music, man. Let me
Yeah.
find you.
Yeah, you guys can find me on all platforms really. Spotify, um what's it called again? Apple Music, Pandora, Deezer, even on SoundCloud, all of those, all the major platforms. The album name is Be Filled, and I go by the artist name of Jella, which is my name. Um, so yeah, Be Filled Jella. So excuse me. So yeah, like recently I've just gotten back into like the music thing, and I realized like this is my passion. This is what I love to do, you know. Going back to what I was saying about persistence and consistency is like I love music, and I felt like I needed to regroup or recalibrate myself. And what better way to do that than to make some music? And especially like music that I've had sitting on my phone for years that I was just like, man, it's not going anywhere. It's just sitting there. And I was just like, look, I'm just gonna record it, do it myself, do everything myself. Um, I had to reteach myself. Like we were saying earlier, I went to YouTube University to rehone in some skills that I have forgotten about, and I just made it and put it out. I wasn't putting it out for anyone but myself, and just to show like, yo, I could do this, and like I don't need anyone else to do it, or to like approve of it for me to do it. It's just like I felt like I wanted to do it, and I did it, and I just felt like God was like, I think it's time that you do this, um and I'm gonna be with you. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna do it then, God. This is me putting myself into the music because of my love for him, you know what I mean? And like I felt like he was like, yo, do it now, you know?
Yep.
And so that's what I did. And I've been getting a lot of good love and praises for it. Um, and it just gave me the bug, and now I want to record new stuff. And like I'm actually working with another artist now. He just did the hook for one of my songs that I'm gonna release later on this year. So like yeah, man, you like I said, you just got to be persistent and know what you want, um and I like I said, music and just the video stuff has been my I guess rock in a sense, or just love. Um and it just I just felt like it was time for me to get back to that stuff and reground myself in a sense.
What's up, man? I love it. Listen. It was a good talk, man. I enjoyed this conversation, and I know somebody will take from this and do something with it because you said
Yeah, I
a lot
hope
of things.
so.
The content, the stay persistent. I love it, man. That's the things that
Appreciate it.
everyone needs in their lives, man. But I'm glad you came on. I'm actually I'm gonna bring you back for another conversation because we're gonna talk more
Definitely.
about your music and we're gonna talk about a few other things that you got going on.
Definitely, man. I appreciate it. And thank you for even like thinking of me to be on your podcast, man, for
Come on,
sure.
man.
Cause like
Everybody's got a conversation. Everybody can talk to celebrities. That's not. You need to talk to the people who because my biggest thing about this is talking about having the conversations that are more than all you got to do is. It's more than all you got to do because it's the difficult thing, and these people
yeah,
need to understand that there's a lot of work, persistence, consistency,
yeah,
and determination to get things done.
for sure. That's a good one. Determination. Yeah.
They need to be able to see that. So I'm glad you came on, and this has been another conversation in my conversation corner. Please go like, subscribe, and wait for more content because it will be coming out weekly on all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at My Conversation Corner. And we'll talk to you next time.
All right, y'all. Have a great day.
Yeah.